Hello and welcome to my channel, and I'm back after more than 1 week of my last video upload, and I'm back with this video in which I am going to rant about some books. you know Back with more positive notes. Anyway, before I start, I just kind of want to say that I actually took a break from work, even though it's sort of kind of, break from booktube also happened around that time as well, but that was unintentional, collateral. So I took a break from work the week before this past week. So that was around the week of November 22nd. I took a week-long leave of absence, and I went to Kuala Lumpur for rest and relaxation. And I was there for like 1 week or so, and it was really fun, and I felt that I really needed that rest. November was a rough month for me. I was anxious and I was depressed, and I thought I was, it was so much, it was so overwhelming, and I was glad that I took that leave. So I'm already back on my leave right now. It has been 1 week since that leave. I would love to take that leave again. Taking leave is really addictive. And also, it has been a while since I last, took a leave. It has been a while since I last traveled out of state because, COVID. And it was a really, really happy time that week. Anyway, what happened that week was I thought I wanted to finish some small books that I have, small books around, books around 100 page or so. And I sort of, ended up reading 4 books. I finished 2 of them, and I DNF 2 others. So I'm going to talk about the DNF books in this video, okay? So I'm going to start with this one. I wanted to read this one for, since I bought it this year, earlier this year. This is Hanne Ørstavik's Love. So this one was originally written in Norwegian, and it was translated into the English by Martin Aitken. So what is this book about? So Love is sort of like this kind of domestic fiction about this woman named Vibeke, I think that's how you pronounce her name, and her son John, and they live together in at their home. And basically what happens is that Vibeke is sort of kind of she's very absorbed in her own life. She is very occupied with her own job, her relationships, her the stuff that she is interested in, her appearances and all that, and she sort of neglects her son. And at the beginning of this book, we know that her son is going to celebrate his birthday, but Vibeke seems to like she doesn't even know that it is her son's birthday, and her son is sort of like just going out there doing his own thing. He is selling raffle tickets and stuff from door to door, and it's winter as well. Seems to be like it. It's kind of snowing. It's really cold outside also. Now, I stopped reading this book when I reached about page 30 or so. So I don't really know what's going to happen after that, but based on the synopsis of this book, apparently the story is going to culminate into this sort of heart-rending event, I suppose, or some kind of sad thing is going to happen in this book. I don't know what that is. Maybe someone's going to die. I don't know. But yeah, I just never got to that point because when I was reading this book, I just thought that the writing was so boring. It felt unanimated to me. It felt really sullen. okay. It's one thing to have the characters just sort of not care about each other, just sort of feel like, um, apathy is like a really strong thing in this book. Like Vibeke and John, they don't really like talk much. They don't really like, their relationship is sort of distance. They don't fight, but they just don't really care so much towards one another. Okay, and I think that's great. I like that kind of story, that makes for a good family drama. But, I just feel like even the narrator feels sort of disconnected from the story. And the narrator does not seem to have that kind of passion in their voice that would make me feel invested in the story. Like, the story takes place in a place that, that is quite cold and snowy. And I certainly feel that from the narration already. Like the narration feels cold and unemotional. Or should I say emotionless. And I just didn't feel like I was welcome, as a reader into this story. I felt like I was some kind of a person who was just standing outside of Vibeke's and John's house. I was watching them doing their own stuff through the window, and I was there, and I tried knocking on the door, but no one really answered. So I just, I was just stuck outside, really cold. No one cared about me. And that was sort of how it felt when I was reading this book. The writing was just so sullen and gray, just like the cover. It definitely gets the tone right, the mood right, but it was just way too sullen for me. So I decided, what, I was gonna stop reading this book, even though it had only like 100 plus pages. It actually took me like more than 3 days to read those 30 pages. So I gave up. So yeah, this one was DNF because of the tone. This one was also DNF because of the tone. But completely different reasons. So the second book is called If Cats Disappeared from the World by Genki Kawamura. I think it's, the glaring is too much. Let me put it. It's better this way, I suppose. Okay, so this one was written by Genki Kawamura, translated from the Japanese into English by Selland. So, what is this book about? So we have this guy. He lives in Japan and he works as a postman. And one day he sort of finds out that he has cancer and he is dying. And he only has a limited time to live. And while he's being, sullen and depressed and sad and all that, the devil comes and visits him. And this devil apparently wears this sort of stereotypical Hawaii shirt. And so the man just calls this devil Aloha, which, it's as stereotypical as it can be. But I'm gonna forgive that because this book is kind of like a light novel. Okay, I'm gonna forgive that. But anyway, this devil sort of offers this dying man, to extend the time that he has in this world. But in order for him to, extend his time, this man has to identify things that has to be disappeared from the world. So, and then the devil will also have to agree with what are the things that this man wants to, make disappear in order to extend his time on Earth. So, they kind of got into this point where they deliberated on what are the things that they should make disappear. I actually did not get into the part in which they make cats disappear, which, isn't exactly the spoiler because that's the title. I'm pretty sure at some point cats are going to disappear in this book. But I've never gotten to that point because I thought that the writing of this book was just so grating. Okay, so I think that this book was trying to be quirky, and it's I'm not gonna judge like, you know, the original way of how this book was supposed to be, because I don't read Japanese, so I don't know how it is in Japanese. But based on the reviews that I've read about this book, apparently the Japanese version is quite good. It definitely hits that tone of, you know, being, you know, quirkiness and all that. I think the English translation also wants to sound quirky, but it sounds like it was written by a teenager who writes fan fiction on Wattpad. Like, the way that the writing is done, there are some parts that feel kind of deep, but doesn't exactly come across as deep and profound, you know. And some of the colloquialism that is used in this book just sort of feels very, you know, American informal slang. And it felt really jarring when you consider the fact that this book takes place in Japan, and, you know, the characters aren't supposed to exactly communicate like they're Americans, especially from you know, especially like, you know, as if they're Americans from those from shows that, you know, I would say foreign shows that want to show how Americans sound like, you know what I mean. Yeah, the tone was all over the place. It definitely didn't achieve that sort of quirky level. It definitely does not feel deep, and yeah, another thing that I felt was kind of jarring was also like how this character, the main character, this guy, is struggling with his own mortality. He knows he's going to die, and he is totally right in feeling sad about it. But somehow when he's talking with the devil, the way that the dialogue comes across to me, it's just, you know, one line he is depressed about his own life, but the next line he sort of becomes kind of flippant about it, and the next line he becomes sort of casual, as if he's not going to die anytime soon. And it sort of just, you know, flip-flops between these tones, these different tones. It was so weird. I couldn't really understand what was the general mood that this book wants to convey, because it was just all over the place. Yeah, so definitely a book that I DNF'd, because, you know, I couldn't stand that. It was not consistent at all. So yeah, it was disappointing. Although, you know, to be fair, I did kind of expect that would happen with this book. You know, especially books that want to be quirky and all that. But then again, I was also, you know, kind of interested in trying different kinds of things. But yeah, this book did sort of disappoint me. Anyway, those are kind of like the books that disappointed me on my 1 week long break. But anyway, I had my break. I actually finished 2 other short books as well. Really nice stuff. So, but I'm not going to talk about those books here, because I am not going to ruin this ranty mode with, you know, positive reviews. So I'll see you again in a different video. So I'm not sure what those videos are going to be. But yeah, I suppose some new videos are going to come up after this. So I'll see you then, and take care. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this, and bye.